Whew. All right. Welcome. Man, that was a rough week one. Unfortunately, the NFL continues its onslaught of ugly injuries all of the first week into the season. But if you were fortunate to survive and not have to blow all your fab, good for you. We will have an article coming out likely Thursday. I will email it out talking about fab, who spent what, maybe how the divisions are shaping up, just talking about the league a little bit. And this podcast will continue to just do the week previews. So let's kind of move on to some game previews. First, I will review last week. So your Fearless Commish nailed it. Had a pretty good week. Chalupa Batman not only winning as predicted, so that gets me 1-0 on the season. He won 158 to 148. So Max, unfortunately, lost, but had the fifth most points in the league. He actually had a pretty good week. Nothing to be ashamed of. Max, you're gonna have a fine season. You scored well. And pat myself on the back. I really think I got the games right. I'm sure I will get them wrong in the future, but looking back, I nailed the San Francisco game. I said, Purdy's going to have 202. He had 220-2, so got that pretty close. I said it would not be a Debo week. It would be a Brandon Ayuk week. Nailed that one. I also said Aaron Jones was going to eat. Green Bay was going to need to feed him, and they did. Although, man, Jordan Love, 3 touchdowns. Not too shabby. But Aaron Jones scoring 26 points, so that was on the positive side for Max. The Jordan Love 3 touchdowns really helped him and kept him in the game. But Justin Herbert in the track meet, thought he did better. Got 25, but would have predicted a little bit more in the game. Calvin Ridley, though, I said he'd be featured early, and he was, scoring 24 points. Eckler did his thing at 26. And then I said, why would anyone roster Chigo Okonkwo? Well, the big gooser from him. So, solid week in terms of predictions. So, let's move on to week 2. So, who am I featuring this week? Well, we're getting TJ, Sacco Del Toro, and Ryan, Sophia Ruxin's Purdy. Well, why would you feature them? Sacco Del Toro was last. He scored 88 points. Not good. Try to feature some close teams, while Ryan scored 166 points and came in second. So why would I do that? Well, the computer is predicting these two teams to both score 149 points. They are within 0.2 of each other. So, oh my bad, 0.7. No, 0.07. So very, very close game this week for these two. So I figured, well, we'll give it a whirl and see how it goes. I am titling this game the Battle of the Stacks. I mean, just stack on stack on stack. TJ just went all in on his home team. He got the Tennessee stack with his quarterback. He got the Dallas stack with Dak and CD. Ryan got the mega stack, the super stack in Minnesota. He got the quarterback, the running back, and the receiver. And while it's not a quarterback stack, he does have the wide receiver running back combo in Vegas. So while we'll look at these game previews or individual previews, the real life games between those teams is really going to determine what happens in this battle. So let's see if I can get it right this week. So we'll preview quarterbacks first. TJ gets Dak going up against the Jets, and Tannehill against the Chargers. Man, Dak's going to be a hack this week. I'm sorry. The Jets lost Rodgers. They're going to give it their win-win for the Gipper, although maybe they did that last week. But that defense, I mean, people are comparing it to the 85 Bears. Let's pump the brakes on that. But they're very good, and I just don't think that Dak can do anything really against that secondary. I think they're going to try to run it. I don't think it's going to work. I think it's going to be a very low-scoring game, and I just don't see how Dak gets a lot here. I mean, I think you're hoping for 20. So Dak not a great matchup, and then Tannehill versus the Chargers. You think, all right, well, it should be a track meet. Chargers going to put up some points. Yeah, but man, did Tannehill look bad week 1. It might be 1 year too late for him. He's been solid and a fine pick, but not this year. I am not encouraged at all from week one. I just don't know if he has it left in him. So that being said, the Chargers are not good against the pass or the run this year, which I know they played Miami and we only have one game, but last year they weren't either. They were fifth worst in both categories. So maybe Tannehill does something, but I'm not planning on it. Moving on to Ryan. Ryan gets Kirk Cousins against Philly and Richardson versus Houston. You know, Cousins versus Philly seems like that'd be tough, Philly's defense, but they lost a few starters in the offseason. I know they basically replaced it with a bunch of Uga players, but I don't know. They let Mac Jones, throw for 50 attempts and almost win that game. I don't know. I don't know that they're the same defense they were last year, and I don't really care who Cousins plays. He's got Jefferson, and he should be good for 202 every week. I think he's going to be just fine. And look, I might be the anti-Richardson guy, but I'll give some credit where it's due. He looked better than expected versus the Jags. And I don't mean necessarily from a fantasy standpoint. I mean he stood in the pocket longer, and he was definitely letting it rip. Real life, I'm not sure how good he's going to be, but for fantasy, he's running around that goal line. Maybe doesn't because he got hurt, but he's doing it, and I don't see him stopping that. And how much he was just thrown downfield. I think he could get some over on Houston. I'll give Houston a little credit. I think D'Amico Ryans is fantastic, and I think he can make that defense sneaky good this year. But from a fantasy perspective, I just don't think it matters versus Richardson. He scored like 23 points last week. Really probably should have ran in a game-tying or game-ending touchdown there before he got hurt. So, I mean, he could have ended the week with 30 points, and he didn't even play particularly well from a fantasy perspective. So, I mean, Allen stole a cold lock this week in this position group. It definitely goes to Ryan. I just think that that's a fairly significant advantage in Ryan's favor at the quarterback spot. All right, moving on to wide receivers. TJ gets a stack with CD Lamb going against the Jets, Higgins going against Baltimore, Mike Evans going against Chicago. Again, Lamb gets the Jets. I'm just not in on it. I'm just not. I just don't think we can expect much from him. You got Higgins going for the Ofer. Okay, fine. I think he's better than Ofer, but is Burrow hurt? Like, is this like a trend? I don't really know, and I don't think I want to find out versus Baltimore. I don't have my hopes all that high for Higgins either. But I'll tell you what, Mike Evans looked okay last week. I mean, 10 targets. I had Kyle Trask on my bench hoping Baker failed, but he did not. Not that he looked like a world beater or anything, but he didn't look like somebody who was getting benched either. And if he's got eyes for Evans, Evans might be a steal for the draft. And I'm sorry, but Chicago's bad. Fields he might score some fantasy points, but he can't even move the offense. I don't know. I think Chicago just might be very bad. And Evan definitely has a chance at a touchdown this week. All right, Ryan's group, we've got 3 here. He's got his stack with Jefferson versus Philly, Dotson in Denver, and Jacoby Myers in Buffalo. Ryan says, thank you for cutting Jacoby, Steve. Washington, well, I guess I'll start with Jefferson. I mean, he's Jefferson. I don't know what you want me to say. The guy can get 150 every week against anybody. That's just what he does. Moving to Dotson. So Washington's past game was certainly not, hugely productive. But I think that going against Denver, who's not very good, offense or defense, they do have one good corner in Surtain, and I actually think he's going to follow McLaurin. So if Dotson is the beneficiary of some second-tier coverage, which, by the way, is the same team Jacoby Myers torched last week for 2 touchdowns, I think Dotson's playing that Myers role. He might surprise. Yahoo's got him projected for 9 points. I think he might be closer to 15. We'll see. And then we've got Jacoby versus Buffalo. Buffalo just got embarrassed, losing to our favorite, uh, we'll say Milfer. I mean, he's not good, and Buffalo just lost. Allen played terrible. They're at home. You gotta think Buffalo's coming out and blowing out Las Vegas by 15 points. So does that mean that Jimmy G throws and targets Myers? Maybe, but Myers is an underneath guy. I think they're going to be down, and he's going to have to let it rip, which for Jimmy G probably means 10 yards downfield, but I think it's going to Devontae. I don't think it's going to Jacoby. I just don't think he's poised for a very good week this week. So Allen stone cold lock. We're going to go with TJ in the wide receiver position. Moving on to running backs. TJ has C-Mac. I mean, what do you want to know about C-Mac? You want to know who he's playing? It doesn't matter. He's good for 18 basically every week. He's got the Rams. It just doesn't matter. The guy's just amazing. As long as he's healthy, he's good. Now, the opposite side of that coin, I mean, is there anyone worse than Najee right now? I mean, geez, Pittsburgh looked bad. Now, yeah, they played San Francisco. I got it. But he just doesn't look very good. I don't imagine he gets much going up against Cleveland, another good defense. Cleveland, while hoping Watson is their savior and able to put up some points, the defense is where they're going to win games, I think. So I can't imagine Najee having a very good week. So C-Mac's going to have to save TJ's group here. So we'll head over to Ryan. I'm going to talk a little bit about Josh Jacobs going against Buffalo. This is the other side of his stack. While Jacobs only had 60 yards, total last week, he still had 22 touches. Like, they're still feeding him, so he's just going to get work. I would hope that he scores one this week, so I don't see him not outscoring Najee. But then you got Saquon. Saquon got crushed in an embarrassment of a game last week. You got to think that they're looking to bounce back. I think he's kind of the key. So while you think, oh, well, they got destroyed, how could they possibly have a good week? Well, they play Arizona. Arizona's terrible. They're the salve that heals all wounds. Like, they're looking to lose. So I don't see how they don't involve Saquon a ton, especially if Waller's still got his hamstring going on. So I think even though I should never pick against C-Mac, I don't recommend this. Allen Stone Cold Lock of the Week in the running back group is definitely going to Ryan. I think Saquon crushes. All right, moving on to tight ends. So Musgrave, some of you may not even know who he is. He's a rookie, playing for Green Bay. Yeah, he gets Atlanta. Look, Atlanta's just going to run the ball a bunch. I get that Green Bay had some touchdowns last week from Love, but I just don't think they're going to have the ball. I think Atlanta's going to run it down their throats, and I don't imagine Musgrave does much of anything. On the opposite side, Ryan's got Goddard. Goddard also, big goose egg, so he's got to be terrible, right? He's going up against Minnesota. There's no way he gooses again. The head coach has already talked about needing to get him involved. They're playing Minnesota. Minnie's going to put up some points. Like I said, I just don't think Philly's defense is where it was last year. So Ryan's got a lot of players in this game. But I just think Goddard gets involved this week. I think it's actually a pretty big edge to Ryan here. All right, so Stone Cold Lock, Ryan. Going to the flex, we've got Hopkins going for TJ. Again, I don't think Tannehill has a great week, but they've got to put it up to somebody when they're playing the Chargers. So I think Hopkins comes out with something. And versus Ryan's Madison, so part of Ryan's super stack, while I say the Minnesota Vikings should score some points, I mean, they're only slated, Vegas has them implied point total of 21 points. So between Cousins, Jefferson, Madison, I don't know that there's a lot of upside. Somewhere has got to suffer. I think Ryan has to hope to get lucky and get a goal line TD here. I think that's the only way Madison helps him out this week. I don't know that happens. I'm just gonna go Hopkins here, thinking that while it's a low upside, he's got to catch something. Otherwise we're looking at Tannehill maybe even getting benched if they're not in this game. Time for Bananarama. So, all right, this is a tough one. I think the computer's got it projected pretty pretty good. I'm gonna go with Allen Stone Cold Lock winner of the week, Ryan. But man, it's not by much. I actually wrote down to pick TJ. This is a close one. I just think the quarterbacks is where the advantage is going to be for Ryan. I think Saquon's going to be a big advantage. But look, if TJ, has C-Mac go off and Dallas isn't as bad as I expect, this is going to be a close game. Yahoo nailed this one. So going to be a close game. Looking forward to it. All right, we're at the 15-minute mark, so time to wrap it up. All right, guys, I will see you next week, and hopefully we see you out for the games. Peace out.